Welcome into another Locked On NBA Insider Report. SiriusXM host Antonio Daniels here to help us out with the insider point of view. And we're headed over to the Western Conference. You definitely have the insider point of view for the play-in tournament because the Pelicans are involved in this one, as well as the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and the Spurs. So as we've talked about before, this is not a regular year. These are not, bottom level teams, right? A lot of them dealt with injuries or different things. So what can we expect from the play-in tournament in terms of the Western Conference?
Well, I think similar to the Eastern Conference, Kanani, when you talk about these aren't regular teams, I think in particular, you have to take a look at, one, the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
You think of what the Clippers had to endure throughout the course of this year. There are two teams in the NBA that didn't have one practice or one game with their best player. You have the New Orleans Pelicans with no Zion Williamson, and you have the LA Clippers with no Kawhi Leonard. But now with the Clippers, you also remove Paul George from that equation for a significant amount of time. Norman Powell, when he first got traded there, he's fantastic. He played 3 games, and then he was injured. So you're talking about a undermanned, depleted team for a lot of this season. So now what happens is toward the end of the year, you get Paul George back, you get Norman Powell back. Now you get back healthy again. Now the depth is back for the Clippers. And, with depth comes danger in today's NBA. So now they're 8 seed. No, the Clippers are not an 8 seed. Just like we talked about with the Eastern Conference, if you put this Clippers team together all year long, you could potentially be talking about a top 4 team. So now what happens is you face the Minnesota Timberwolves, who Coach Chris Finch has done a fantastic job in Minnesota. And Karl-Anthony Towns has been a completely different basketball player this year. I'm taking the Clippers. I'm taking the Clippers in that play-in game to go and face the Memphis Grizzlies.
And we'll touch a little bit on the Grizzlies now while we're at it because, they locked up the 2 seed a while ago. They're trying to get healthy right now. What do we need to see from Ja Morant to get them out of the first round?
I don't think it's Ja Morant. Honestly,
is it his supporting cast?
Right. Because if you go back last year versus Utah, Ja Morant was fantastic.
Right.
He was fantastic. But now the difference is Jaren Jackson Jr. The difference is Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton, Jones, these guys. 2 years ago in the bubble, they didn't win a game in the bubble. You know why? Because Tyus Jones didn't play a game. I feel like he's the best backup point guard in the NBA today. Mm-hmm. So right now, I'm not worried about Ja Morant. I'm worried about the Dylan Brooks, the Baines, the Steven Adams, his supporting cast. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Ja Morant. But here's the thing. When you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they were first in fast break points. They were first in points in the paint. All these different areas, first and second chance points for an 82-game season. We also know in the postseason, the game slows down. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to execute in the half court. So now if there's something I want to see from the Memphis Grizzlies, not Ja Morant in particular, but the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole, is how do you respond to the game when the game completely slows down? And you're not given the opportunity to get out and transition as much as you did throughout the course of the regular season.
That's when your personnel really comes into play. We talked a little bit about some of those teams in the West that have one big star, whether it's Utah, whether it's, Dallas or Denver. They have one big player, but they need the rest of the cast to kind of come and show up as well. So of those teams, is there anyone that you're kind of seeing? Luka's hurt right now, so it's not even like he can necessarily drive his whole team forward into the next round. Is there anybody that we're seeing that could maybe make a run?
Well, the thing Luka's Luka. Yeah. So even if you go the past 2 years, them getting eliminated by the LA Clippers, and Luka still put up 30, 40 points a game against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That says a lot.
Yes.
I have to go with Jokic. And the reason I go with Jokic is because of his ability to impact the game in so many different areas. Mm-hmm. Obviously, them being without Jamal Murray and them being without Michael Porter, it hurts. It hurts a lot. But what we've seen all year is not just Jokic's ability to dominate the game offensively. It's his ability to control the game, but his ability to pass that basketball. And if you get other guys on that roster to knock down shots, you could potentially be talking about the Denver Nuggets in the second round. Again, it's a tough conversation to have because when you look at Memphis, they have 1 star. When you look at Dallas, they have 1 star. When you look at Utah, they have 1 star. And I mean 1 offensive star in Donovan Mitchell. And when you look at Denver, they have one star. But now you look at a team like Golden State, and they have the potential of a healthy Steph Curry and a healthy Klay Thompson. What kind of threat do the Golden State Warriors pose? So, this is what I'll say about the West, Kanani. We can sit here and talk about all these teams, 1 through 10, 1 through 10, or 2 through 10.
2 through 10.
I cannot potentially see a team beating the Phoenix Suns 4 out of 7 times. So now this takes you to a different conversation where you're talking about injuries.
Right.
And how important those play or could play in the postseason. Completely different from the Eastern Conference. Because in the East, you have 4 or 5 teams that you can honestly say, you know what, if this team made it to the Eastern Conference, the NBA Finals, it wouldn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. West, different case and scenario.
We'll talk about the elephant in the room. The Phoenix Suns are by far, leaps and bounds better than everybody else. So barring injury, because no one wishes that on anybody, is there any team that can challenge them, or do you truly feel that this is theirs to lose?
I think this is theirs to lose. Obviously, it depends on what we mean by challenge. Is challenge Phoenix winning in 6 or Phoenix winning in 7? I think there are teams out there that could challenge them and push them. But honestly speaking, as you know, Kanani, when we're talking about the NBA playoffs, challenging doesn't advance you. Challenging the team doesn't advance you to the next round. Do I think there are some teams that could potentially push them? I feel like if Memphis is really going, if they're really going, they get an opportunity to get out and transition. Do I feel like they can push Phoenix? Yes. But do I feel like they can beat them 4 out of 7 times? I do not.
So with that said, we have a kind of repeat of last year, right? Milwaukee and Phoenix. Is there a different outcome this time around with Phoenix playing the way they're playing right now, in your mind?
I think I would personally, I would love to see Chris Paul get one.
Yep.
After all that he's gone through, after his storied NBA career, he has enhanced every situation that he stepped into. Yeah. No matter what we're talking about, the Clippers to Houston to Oklahoma City, now here to Phoenix. And he's led 3 different teams to their best win total in the history of their franchise. Mm-hmm. So, you know what, Kanani? I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Let's do it.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I'm going to take the Phoenix Suns. That's what I'm going to do.
I like it. I think they're going 7 no matter what, so that's going to be great to watch. And
the thing is, if they go 7, the Phoenix Suns, they have home court advantage. And I feel like Phoenix has played with a chip on their shoulder all year long. Beating the Milwaukee Bucks in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals last year, then losing 4 games in a row. I think that puts a sour taste in your mouth, and they responded the right way this season.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of teams that would go the complete other way with that, and they took that and they said, we're not doing that again, and they definitely ran with it this season. So I hope you're right, because selfishly as a basketball fan, I would love to watch it, but we appreciate your wisdom on NBA matters, and we wish you luck with the Pelicans, of course, in the play-in tournament as well. Antonio, thank you. I'm Kainani. This has been Locked On NBA.